Delegation?
Organized.
Okay.
Planning.
Time management? He definitely had a time limit, didn't he? What else?
Planning.
Okay.
Focus on the mission.
Okay. How did he do on that?
He was doing well until the Duffy comes to
Okay. But that's when the crisis happened, right? Okay, so what was going on at that point in time? So he was trying to get a plan together, right? He was thinking it through, all those things that you just said. Trying to get this situation resolved before those cameras started to roll again, right? Okay, what about the director? What were the leadership traits that you saw?
Decisive.
What was that?
He stepped right in. He just stepped up.
And so that's probably under courage. Would you say under courage?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, what else? What were the things that you saw in him?
I guess, talk about really being a role model, somebody you want to follow or mimic. I mean, the guy has to pick up food with his hands, but pretty much anybody there could have did that, you know, but nobody wanted to do it, you know, so he did the tough decisions, and he did what, like a show me kind of thing where he kind of, somebody grab it, you know, and he took it from him, so.
Okay, but he didn't do it right away, did he?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
because he's the leader. He was just imagine that, like, if you're knowledgeable on everything, you just go and do everything yourself. Then I mean, you don't need a team at that point. So you're really not leading. You're just doing everything yourself. You know, but when you're leading, you're basically everybody's following with you. You know, so you want to go and do everything yourself. You would not lead either.
Okay, so do you guys see it kind of that same way? He allowed this thing to happen. How hard is that for you to do as a supervisor? You know your airman's about to make a mistake, probably because you made that mistake, right? You know they're going to make it. How often do we step in and stop them from making a mistake? And should we always step in? What do you think of that?
Not always.
Unless it's something dramatic, like someone under grabbing or.
Right. Life
Safety.
Safety.
Okay?
Because everything we do, you get like in trouble if you don't step in and mess up. All you did check out the lobster, all you did check the fluid, all you did hook up it. So obviously we have to constantly step in before they do it. Otherwise, we get major trouble. If we get in trouble, their bosses get in trouble. Then the shop gets in trouble. So there's
Okay.
that gray area where you
Right.
cannot. You have to step in before they mess up.
Right. But I think you also all of people who like micromanage a lot. You know, and like you know the guys that say, you just like, I'm doing that. You know, and I'm doing that. You know, and it just gets annoying, and you guys always step in like, let me do the job for me, kind of thing. You know, what I mean, you don't want to, like you said, it's kind of a gray area. You don't want to steal their thunder, kind of thing, but you don't
Okay.
want anybody to mess up either, because it could also be your butt if you don't step in.
So what happens if you let it go? What happens if you let that thing play out and you let them fail?
Sometimes it's a learning. Teaching opportunity.
Okay, so if it's not life-threatening, if it's not going to cause any problem, doesn't mean we can't come back later and fix it, right? But how often do we take that opportunity away from somebody because whether we're a micromanager or we're concerned that somebody's going to be mad that it didn't get done right the first time? How many times do we take away that opportunity?
Probably lots.
Is there harm in letting somebody fail?
Nope. That's life.
That's life, isn't it?
Some of our best lessons to learn from family.
Amen.
Looks like you got some concern.
Amen. Wait.
It's just, I'm thinking of the TR side of it because we are so time management. I can't, if we sit there and say, okay, go look at the trailer, and if you mess up, I'll come check it before you leave, and then all of a sudden then I'm getting barked at because the Jets don't have their munitions. That's why I was just like, because we don't have time to sit there and allow people, all right, let's do your way, because we're only here for 8 hours, and all of a sudden, bam, you got to do all your ADLS, you got to do your training, you got to do your TBA, you got to go to classes, you
We're
got
going to
to
have
get
lots
the
of
mission
fun
done.
this week, aren't we?
It's just not time. And I'll go ahead and speak as far as us go. Then we got a training manager says, hey, did your training done? Well, what training you got us do? Oh, go check an ADLS. Did you print out RIP for us or anything? So then us in the management position, then we got to go in and see what training our own people have on top of us, plus the LOCs, plus PT tests, and we got to do all that
welcome to being a reservist,
Yeah.
right? Welcome to a reserve weekend, that's the real world we live in. Does it mean though that we take away every learning opportunity and we don't let them, and I'm not saying you let them go through the entire job, but if you let them fail in some way, or you let them take that step, and then you talk about it right away, doesn't mean it has to add a ton of extra time. And you are in a sensitive area when you're dealing with ammo and that sort of stuff, and if you're in something like that, we certainly don't want anyone to get hurt or killed or anything. But what happens when you deploy and that airman that's never been allowed to fail suddenly doesn't have you there to have his back? How many, several of y'all said you had people deployed. What happens if they get out there and they can't do it because we've never allowed them to get to a point where they've had to do it and given them that opportunity to fail? What happens?
They might panic.
They what?
They'll panic.
They might panic?
But I feel like as a good leader, you don't have to let them fail. You can go out and show them what they're doing wrong, not let them go through the entire process and show them.
Sure. Sure you can.
So they still can learn from the situation.
Would like you have something to say, sir?
So how could you do that in your situation?
The
How
same
could you-
thing.
How could you not allow them to just completely and utterly fail without getting pulled away in the limited time you have? What's an example of something?
Well, the same thing, like, well, on my typical weekends, I'm in there with somebody, opening up the TC Max and stuff, unless he's been helping me out some, because he's come from, they've been pulling him from other shops. And then I'm out there helping with the field, then I'm going out helping doing the truck. And so it's just going back and forth, and that's like what she's saying. I'm out there with them, showing them, and going through it. So basically, constant education, training process, you know.
Right, your whole weekend, that's what it's about. I know that arts sometimes, and I spent many, many years as an art, and sometimes we get really confused when we're arts that we have to just do it ourselves. Even on the UTA weekend, we got to do it. Our job, the job of an art is to train the reservists on the weekend. If we don't train those reservists on the weekend, how do we expect them to go into the war zone and do what they need to do? How do you have the confidence that they're going to do what they need to do? So what did this director do? He did all of those things, right? He allowed the situation to go to kind of what Sergeant B was saying to you, is how far can you let him go? So he let him go to that point that he thought, now I have to step in and do something, right? Because if I don't, the show's not going to go on. But the show had to go on. So he got down to that very last minute, and then he stepped in and did what he had to do. But in that, he taught them some lessons. Did he not? Okay, so what kind of lessons was he teaching in what he did by standing back, by allowing things to play out? What was he teaching them? What would that teach
Respond
you?
in a stressful situation.
Okay, very good. What else was it teaching them?
It was exposing them to themselves, because you know there's going to be different situations come up, so they'll, okay, look, this is what I did, this is what I need to do next time, so they actually learn. So next time, if the dog poops again, you know, tomorrow, the next day, then maybe they'll pick it up by their hand because he led by leadership, saying, hey, this guy is dedicated to the mission. Maybe I need to step up, be dedicated. He motivated them.
Okay, what were some of the other lessons that he taught?
Tell them how to work together.
I think he showed them that, you know, that we all the same goal, same mission, you know, even though that obviously he's higher on the totem pole than they are, you know, we're all dedicated to this one mission, and God help us to make that one mission happen.
Okay.
You know, so.
And also he led by example rather than delegating that particular situation.
Okay,
Preparedness.
preparedness?
Oh, what if the guy would have said, hey, Jimmy, go pick that up with your hand? They would have been like, what?
There's a difference, right? So what do we say? You know, you don't want to ask somebody to do something you're unwilling to do yourself, don't you? Isn't that true? Isn't that the kind of leader you want to follow? Somebody that's not going to sit there and say, well, you go scrub the bathroom, but I would never, ever do such a thing. I'm not touching a toilet. Okay? It's a difference. It's a difference in the cultures. So what did it teach them about what he thought of them? Do you think he had faith in them and he trusted them to make the decisions? He stood back. He waited. He knew that they were going to do something. Did he not? He just was going to give them the opportunity to see what they were going to do because he trusted his people. So there's a lot of those key things that we saw in that guy. Some great lessons those folks learned that day. So anytime you have an opportunity, and I think that's the biggest thing that we're trying to say by saying, how would you handle that situation? Is anytime you're faced with that opportunity as a leader, because that's what you are, when you're out there leading your people, look for ways to give them opportunities to step up. Look for ways to teach them the lessons that you want them to learn, so that when they're not standing right beside you and doing that task right in front of you, no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing, you know that they're going to get the job done. Is that fair? Okay? Super. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about, after our break, just to get you ready. The next thing we're going to do is leadership styles. But before we do that, I have 8:59. Let's take a break to 9:10. We're trying to get, oh, we do have a clock in here. That's not right.
Everybody at Moody, here's the
Oh,
mission
let
statement,
me fix
everything
it.
that you need, so do you need one?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
close.
8:59. 5 minutes.
At least an A one.
When will we need the Oliver people want?
I think I already gave you a copy, I'll just double check.
I think, yeah,
As
you had
soon
it
as possible.
right. She printed them out.
Today?
If you don't have it today, it's not the end of the world. If you have it tomorrow, that would be fantastic. Right. Well, I mean, if you got time, that's great, but I don't want you to skip lunch or anything.
I thought,
Thank you.
That's just my normal resting face, I can't help that.
I can picture
It's
Joe
an actual
London.
medical condition.
No, it's just like I have,
Those guys who are all smug and,
His name's
you know,
And it just turns out that's just.
and then for her to come up and go, okay, tell me what's
On Mondays.
Well,
Ours is supposed to be on Monday. Racing on things. How is that?
No, I don't have that.
I hope I can too.
because I came in on after that reservations. She didn't have a lot.
She didn't have a lot of rooms out?
Yeah, I
I feel it. I was like a ball in the room.
sitting there going, oh, yeah, maybe, yeah, but that's all right, if you think so, then I'll tell you what.
I've been trying to get mine too.
Yeah, so I had to get one like family, what, the two and there's like a dog.
Probably get it out.
Yeah, but that's all she had.
Last thing I did, I had to get a copy, because I waited so long to deal with it, that somebody had to go retrieve like a copy of my travel document.
I always have some here. I don't know what it is. Maybe they'll have some. All over do, they got that Starbucks, but they don't open until 8:30. I'm like, what good is it? You're not open until
You
8:30.
don't open till 8:30.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm like, really? I'm like, everyone's work back.
Yeah.
Do they still have that one in the
They got a
BX?
little coffee shop
But
there.
it wasn't.
But that doesn't open until like 8 something.
Yeah, no, either.
Because the BX doesn't open until like 8 or
Yeah,
8:30.
I was right on.
So there's still nothing.
None of
Other than
them
the,
until
shop
And
at
the shop.
like 8:30.
And then back.
Speakers came on.
Oh, I haven't go to the
But see, I'm
BX
gonna
now.
think about my coffee, so I don't.
Yeah, I
Down
don't
to
know.
Eliana.
But the shop bed's open. But they don't always have it. Like they do most of the time. I've gone there.
Well, you go to Starbucks. You're if I was like 8:30.
During lunch
Like,
time.
what's the point?
I know at 8:30 I should have already had mine.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Last time?
Going to all the
Normally I would have already had.
Are you in?
Oh, but
Can't now.
4:13? Yeah, 2:13? Yeah.
That'll probably be the thing that I'll be
So
happy.
if you just walk over to where the lodging office is, there's a secretary.
Oh, yeah.
You should be able to, I think you
I'd
should,
get
you know,
it.
on your CAC information.
I am. I get to work on like.
I'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Like I didn't even look at the cat. Here, I got another one.
I got it.
Right on. Yeah, that's what I have my jacket. It's better than being hot,
You guys-
then we don't have almost sleep.
Yeah.
Get real hot.
No, Friday.
Oh, Friday.
Yeah, because they didn't give me lodging, so I can drive back.
That's all. They didn't give
How
you
far
lodging
you
on
have to
Friday?
go?
It's just like, it's like one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you'll probably, I mean, you should be good to drive, but as far as getting out of your room, you probably, I mean,
I'll get to the room for it.
I talked to them actually, see if they'll let you stay around. Say, hey, you can stay until this time, so you go home, change your clothes.
Ask them for a late checkout.
Use a nice comfortable bathroom before you get the road, you know?
Sounds like that would be the same. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Lord knows I've done that 100 times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There.
Huh? Yeah. Sorry.
You don't want to sit there.
Yeah.
We turn it down. You turn the volume down.
Well, then
I don't know what it is.
They probably tried to wipe it down with like some cleaner and then just didn't like.
So
Cleaner on.
You know what, we could probably do all that Saturdays, almost a long next year's schedule.
Yeah. I think they'll be fine. The only thing is that what you have to do is when he's talking, he's loud and the video is soft. So you have to adjust the volume.
Do you do that? Do you call us?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's do that. Hey, if everybody could stand up real quick, we're gonna just slide this table just back. Everybody slide everything back, just, I don't know, 3 feet would be fantastic. Right there's good, right there's good. We gotta be able to walk around the back here.
Too much?
I think that's all right. Yeah, that's,
Y'all are gonna knock this camera over. Hey, let's try something. I think you got her pet stuck.
All right.
Okay.
You can be the man.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're not flying. Oh, when you ran in, all right.
Ooh, you were a cop? Anyone else here ever been a security forces person?
I got 25 hours.
You are a real cop, that's what we did now, is what do people do as civilians? What do you guys do as civilians at our TRs?
I thought.
You're a cop, civilian cop? Wow.
Once a week,
That's it.
yeah.
What do you do? You're an art?
Yeah, once you get dropped at the border.
Very cool. Very important. Wow. That's interesting.
You came in before.
For where? Uh-huh.
Kings Bay, and I work at
Civil service?
I like that place. Been there a couple times.
What do you do? Do you do maintenance or what do you do?
It's basically like ammo, Navy, technician on torpedoes.
Very cool. Very cool. Are you in art? What do you do as a civilian?
We stay there.
Oh, same thing. Very cool. We have a couple of our fuels guys that do that as a civilian too.
After he retired, he
You're in art. Who else is in TR?
I'm on the
What do you do as a civilian otherwise?
Nothing.
Like me! All right!
I've done a couple different things. I worked at Davidson. I do
I was sitting out there in the parking lot.
and landscaping for a while. Side jobs and they got on afterwards. So,
I'm a
He's
personal
leaving,
trainer. Where you're going to, you know it gets cold.
I'm originally from
And you wanna go
I've
back.
been down here 5 years. I was overseas for about 5 years.
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago and I never ever wanna leave Hill again, ever, ever.
What's that?
We
Oh,
go
okay,
to,
that's right. So you're in art,
Yeah.
you're in art, who else is a TR?
TR.
What do you do as a civilian?
I own
Shop,
a
McIntyre, same work, same trip. And then, yeah.
What kind of contract?
Well, mostly
insurance restoration a month.
Oh, very cool.
Like I stopped doing
Very
like
cool.
say in a month.
Neat stuff, and you're in art.
Yeah, I just walked from over there.
Now you're a TR. What do you do as a civilian?
I'm a financial
August
management analyst for the Navy.
back at work.
Oh, a couple of years working for the Navy. Nice. Very nice.
No, it's
Sergeant
not-
Turner, are you an art or a TR?
I'm an art.
All we do is just
Okay.
like, everybody know how their jets or.
Yeah, I did the art thing, and I had enough
It's like, hey,
of
look,
my
you
chief,
have like-
and I said, if she ain't gonna retire, I gotta go.
How long have you been over there?
I've
I want to say cars look.
Yeah, well, that's what we call it.
That's what I always.
I've been there since 2005.
15, 16s, and 18s.
We used to have a,
730s,
somebody in ammo, she was stationed here, of course, Sergeant Thierman.
Uh-huh.
I only stay here for like a week.
Mine girl from Barksdale went over
It's not too
to
bad.
Carswell shortly
I've been
after I
here for a year and a half,
left
it's
and came
good.
here. She got
I like HA6s and A10s. They're really simple and easy as far as our job.
Sergeant May of personnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's she's an
Art.
art.
Yeah, she was an art over at Barksdale.
Yeah.
I left in June.
It's like it's cold outside or something.
Yeah, she's in our personnel section. Yep.
Her and I were.
Oh, very cool. It's such a small Air Force.
It is, yeah. And then one of the officers, when I was over at Red Horse, he went over to,
They were in.
She said, oh, yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I've been there for a long time.
yeah.
The whole time I've been back in, so
I've been-
my whole
I
reserve
was at
career.
Barksdale a while too. It's only the other, make them into.
I've been,
Even when I was on active duty, I was stationed at Chinook in central Illinois, just outside Champaign. It's not even open anymore. I've been open since the mid-90s. I was stationed there, and then I was stationed at the Air Force Academy.
All right, it's 9:10, let's go ahead and start getting seated.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. So she just said, she was like, how long are you staying? I said, till Friday. Oh, yeah, okay. All right. What's your credit card number? I was like, I don't know, I'm not ready for all that. Man.
What with who now? Really?
Now, a year from now, the next time we'll talk about it. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
7:30 all week.
And they always let me get like late shift now.
Because that's, I mean, you should say it, but let me give you that translation. I would have been impressed with the last one.
no, actually, they're actually, the last one's amazing. I thought it was incredible.
All right, we had some technological issues, but I think we're all squared away. Maybe it's a bit, maybe it's a little that. Good. All right. So we want to move on talking about leadership styles. We talked about different traits that inspire, motivate, and differentiate between a leader and a manager. Now we want to talk about a few things that that we need to add to that list that are specific to the Air Force, and something that I'm sure you guys have heard about before. In this section, we're going to talk about the Air Force values. We're going to talk about a few leadership styles. We talk about the Lewin's leadership styles. We're going to talk about the Hershey-Glanzer situational leadership. We'll talk about transformational leadership and servant leadership. And there will be some things in here that we could enjoy talking about. So Air Force core values. Somebody better be able to tell me what the Air Force core values are. Can you write it up here on this chart paper? She's way
I'll
nicer
write
than me.
for him. What am I writing?
I don't know, she said it too quiet.
Integrity. Service before self.
All right, so somebody define integrity for me.
Doing what is right when no one else is looking.
What do you mean by that?
Making the right decision all the time.
All the time. The
All
right
the
decision?
time.
Okay, everybody agree with that?
Well, not necessarily the right decision, because there may not be a right or wrong, but doing the best of your ability all the time. Or doing what you feel is the best decision all the time. Nothing shady.
Everybody agree with that, or anything to add?
Doing the right thing.
You could do the wrong thing, but integrity be a vigilant. Still be integrity, but yeah, I did that, but I had to get the mission done, and I know it was wrong.
Always use workers.
Oh, you what?
Instead of skipping steps.
Right. Now, before we go on, I want you guys to think about the people that you know that are good leaders, even exceptional leaders. What traits do they have as we talk about these core values? What traits do you see in them? And maybe what do they lack? And what do you think you would like to improve on? So, willingness to do what's right even if nobody's looking. Right? That's the standard Air Force answer. And saying that is a lot easier than actually doing it when it comes down to it. Everybody here knows that really having true integrity is not an easy thing to do. It can be uncomfortable, and sometimes it can be really, really inconvenient. But integrity is a hard thing because it's an important thing. So I want you guys to think about that as we talk about some of the different things you can do as a supervisor. Now, service before self. Can somebody give me a definition for that?
Putting the needs of the Air Force, not necessarily as a business, but as a community, and yourself, thinking about before you think about yourself. If we need to switch up early, how is that going to impact other people? If you have to lay up to, can you stay and hop out a little longer to let everybody can go home? You know what I mean? So always putting the needs of others and the needs of the Air Force before your own needs.
You agree with that, Sergeant Smith?
I do.
Anything to add?
Sounds good.
Yeah?
Put the Air Force for yourself, yeah.
Okay. Just the Air Force, that's it?
Or everything.
What do you mean everything?
Think of others, not just yourself.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So you think this could actually apply outside of the work environment? Could it apply maybe to your home life?
Yeah.
Your life as a community and citizen member? So professional duties take precedence over personal desires. And I think it is important. When we talk about service before self, that's not just a work thing. That's a community thing, that's a family thing. It's just that. The duties take precedence over personal desires. Now, who can give me a definition for the third one? Sergeant Stanley.
Excellence in all that we do. You just
Everything that you do, you do your best. You do the best of your abilities in everything that you do, all aspects.
Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah, I think when you say excellence, you don't want it to be confused with perfection, because no one's perfect. You're gonna make mistakes, but always strive to be good.
I think that's actually a really, really great point. Thank you. You may trying to do excellent in everything you have to do when you talk about having a busy weekend. That doesn't mean you're going to be perfect at everything, but you're going to do your best no matter what, and you're going to strive for that. I think that is really important. So thank you. That's great. Now, which one of these core values is the most important?
Integrity.
I got a few different answers. All of them. You had confidence there. There was a little bit of you weren't sure back here. So you're saying integrity is the most important. Why do you think that?
Because once you have integrity, all else falls into place.
Okay.
Well, I think that excellence when I would do it is most important, because I mean, like, if you're striving for excellence, then you're gonna have integrity, you know, cause that's, trying to be excellent in everything, you know. If you want the mission to run good, you know, or as good as possible, then you're gonna try to strive for excellence. Therefore, you're gonna have put your service before self, you know. So if you're striving for excellence, you're gonna do the things that are required to make it excellent, and having integrity is gonna be one of those requirements.
Integrity is, it's the most important. That's why it's first.
All three equally
All right,
important.
so let's talk about this. The Little Blue Book, right, AFI 1-1, sets out standards for the Air Force, right? And everyone has minimum standards for everything that we do, and everyone has the ability to be excellent in everything we do. And to different people, different things are important, all right? It may be money, it may be prestige, it may be rank, it may be a family situation, education, a position in your work. What different people value is very different, and that can affect what you believe is an act of integrity based on your value system. So I want to read just a little example. So suppose you were asked to paint a piece of equipment. Anybody work in a paint shop? Get stuff quick. No? So let's say you're asked to paint a piece of equipment. Like you're saying, right? You're saying excellence in all we do. You're saying integrity. So let's say you want to do excellent. You do a fantastic job painting this piece of equipment. All right, it's beautiful, it's shiny. You put an extra clear coat on it, throw some sparkles at it before it dries. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful. But you didn't paint it the color they told you to. All right? Integrity is about doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. But you did an excellent job, but maybe you didn't do exactly what you were told, even though it's beautiful. You were excellent in it. Now, let's say you had integrity and you tried to do a great job, but you were just a terrible painter, right? You're just not very good. When you threw the sparkles, it didn't spread out real good. It was just a clump of sparkles, you know, so it just looked silly. Because a sparkly Humvee wouldn't look silly. But the point is you can have integrity and not do a very good job. Not because you're not trying, but just because you haven't strived enough to get to that point yet. Or maybe you're just flat out not capable of some things. And hey, sometimes that happens. Some people are better at some things than others. But I will say that you can't look at these as mutually exclusive. All right? It's not that you have integrity, but maybe you're not excellent and you're not putting service before self. You can't say, well, I'm excellent in all I do, so I don't have to worry about the integrity and I don't have to worry about the service before self. All right? It's all encompassing. All right? Everything is absolutely important. Integrity is first. There's no doubt. But all three values together at the same time is what makes a good leader. All right? That's how you gain those traits that you guys put on that leadership list, is by practicing all three. Does anybody have any questions about that? Comments? So, no, that's what I was just going to say. Is that's not? I'll tell you if you're wrong, all right. But that's not a right or wrong. That's an understanding thing, and it's a paradigm, or semantics, if you will. But we have to have all three. We have to move through them at the same time. Now, one of the things that this fella, Kurt Lewin, he was a head shrinker like in the 1930s. He set out this framework basically for leadership styles. All right. The way he set it out is the basis for most of the frameworks, theories, philosophies on management that we have today. And he basically said, look, there's 3 leadership styles, 3 basics. That's how you can split them all out. All right. And it's a pretty basic thing, but I want to talk about each one of those. So the first one is autocratic. Can anybody give me a definition of what they think an autocratic leader would be like? Everybody micromanage. Micromanage? Okay. What else? Wow. I feel like we would be here all day.
I have no idea what it means, but I'm assuming maybe because that was the word auto in it, that it's kind of like systematic, where it's just like, we got to do X, Y, Z, and it's not very flexible, you know, because it's automatic, you know. Just guessing.
I'm going to congratulate you on your guess. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that. But so an autocratic leader is like we said, it's someone who is making all the decisions by themselves. They're not seeking out any of their employees or followers to make those decisions. And that's not to say that this is necessarily a terrible strategy to use. There's sometimes where you don't have a chance to consult with your employees. You got to make a quick decision. Somebody was talking about being decisive. Who was it? Sometimes you don't have time to have a meeting with everybody, talk about our feelings, and see, how it's going to affect everybody. Sometimes decisions have got to be made. And an autocratic leader is fantastic with this because they're just making the decision. They're not considering necessarily how their employees might feel about it, how their followers might feel about it. So here's some of the things that they would do. The second style that he set out was democratic. So what do we suppose that would entail? Sorry, Johnson. Political parties aside. Okay. Anybody?
Yeah, everybody gets a little bit of a say. It's not just directed by one person.
Yeah, it would be like a democracy. So communication flows up, it flows down. You're asking for people's opinions. Now, is this an expedited way to make decisions? So what's going to be the issue with it? Time. It's going to take a little bit more time to do. All right. The third leadership style that he laid out was what they called laissez-faire. You say however you want. Anybody have an idea what that means?
My boss on a civilian sector.
What's that?
It's my boss on a civilian sector.
Very laid back.
So laid back. Anybody speak French? What's the definition there? That's what it means, but it's basically just let it be.
Yeah.
It's just going to, what happens, happens. All right? So, laissez-faire capitalism, they say, when we talk about just